K-pop Demon Hunters is an animated movie on Netflix right now, and the message of that movie is to accept our whole selves, our authentic selves, to really listen to what's happening for us from within. And the lead character is a singer of a girl group, and she loses her voice. So she goes to a practitioner wanting a quick fix, and he says to her, we can't just look at this part, we need to look at the whole. So the message of the movie is, what is it that led to this distress signal from your body? And I just love how we are beginning to recognize that body and mind are not separate, that there is an integration, that everything that we think, we feel, every sensation that we experience becomes embodied. And I remember when I started working with chronic pain, we had learned about anatomy of parts, how if there was a pinched nerve, for example, how do we work with that particular area? And of course, that all changed for me when I started to learn about fascia, this sensory fabric, this oneness, this whole tissue of the body that holds information, it transmits information, it's shaped by how we think and feel. And what's so remarkable when we start looking and working with healing trauma through the body or chronic pain is we can access this information through the body's fascia in a really simple way. So I just want to go back to how I was working with people with chronic pain. And there was a part of me that recognized that pain wasn't just a physical symptom. That was a long time back. And there was a link between anxiety, chronic pain, stress and chronic pain. And I would see the stuckness in the body. Often it would be a held internal sensation, a held sensation so that the ribs become really rigid, for example. And oh my gosh, at the start, I would spend ages just trying to get someone to breathe well, or to use manual therapy, to do some manual release work, just for them to release the diaphragm. Until I recognized that there's a completely different way we can, for example, I could, do like a little soft body bounce or a skin glide. So I'm just going to show you on the ground, if I'm laying on the ground like this, and I could simply move my feet back and forth. And that motion of the whole body moving and the feel-good sensation associated with that motion. And this is what's really important. The feel-good, the nurturing, nourishing sensation shifts our body chemistry and it triggers a spontaneous sigh, right? So your body has this intelligence. It can self-regulate. And the way that we access this intelligence is through our body's fascia. It's a sensory tissue. And not only does it hold information and allows for exchange of information through our entire biology, it shapes everything. It's not a separate system. It is the stuff that I don't even know what to call it, connective tissue that infuses everything, our organs. There are no individual muscles in the body. We have muscle cells that live within this fascial matrix. So where am I going with this? Yes, how do we connect to our sense of wholeness? So we go back to this person this idol who's lost a voice, and helping people recognize that we're holding strain in our body, that we need to come to rest, to pause, to recover. And we know that, we think about unwinding, we talk about unwinding, we think of going to a spa or resting, or we associate it with just doing less, right? But there's another way of looking at our resting state. It's knowing how to listen to the body, knowing the kind of movement that it requires, and it's the kind of movement that the body already gives you that will bring you into a resting and recharged state. And in soma sensing, we unlock this process of self-healing. We unlock the process of fascial unwinding, how the body moves to take care of itself. And so, for example, if I'm sitting right here and I can just bring my body to quiet, and the motion that you're seeing right now is my body moving, I'm not moving my body. And that motion, it's called an oscillation. It is, it feels good, first of all, and it's softening any areas of stiffness or strain without stretching. So I can be sitting here and you can see my head's bobbing. And if I've got any strain in my neck and shoulders, it's going to soften or change the information. It feels like it's softening. And in the fascial anatomy world, we call that a phase change. When something goes from stiff to soft, it's called a phase change. And it can also go from feeling, if you're feeling tired or fatigued, you can also go from feeling this kind of low in energy, depleted energy, to moving and recharging your body. So movement can actually recharge your body. We often think of movement as using energy. That's exercise. But this movement, this kind of movement that emerges from within the body, is really giving you energy, vitality, and vibrancy. And this is how we start to look at the whole, heal the whole through body sensation. So how do we look at anxiety or stress or trauma that's held within the body? So the actual event, the emotion that's linked to the event might be recorded as a memory in your brain, and it will trigger a response throughout your whole body, right? And instead of going to the story of what happened, we look at what happens in your fascia. So you will either experience an inflammatory response, an autoimmune response, because the entire biology changes. You might experience chronic fatigue or chronic pain. So this is information that's you can listen to through your body. So this is information. This is saying the body needs to rest and recover, right? And instead of going to the story of what happened and why you have trauma, we go through the body sensation. We change the sensation, we change the information, we get the body to start reconnecting, unwinding, recharging, and repatterning. That's the word I'm looking for. Repatterning, so that you don't keep the kind of memory of what happened. So the shift in your entire way of being starts taking place through your body without you having to talk about stress, anxiety, or trauma, just by allowing the body to take care of the areas of stuckness, of strain, of releasing, or sending you a feel-good sensation to calm the nerve endings that give you pain in a really gentle, easeful, effortless way, because that's the nature of our design. We can begin to address this entire way or system of the body, our entire way of being. And let me just share what happened for me. I was never somebody who was looking to move in a quiet way, in a gentle way. I came from a fitness background. I loved exercising. I had no desire to meditate or do yoga or any of that. I was just disconnected from my sense of wholeness. And when I found it, everything shifted. So much so that I started to change the way I was choosing my clothes. I was starting to change the way I wanted to connect with people. And the most remarkable part of this whole process was my curiosity around fascia. So that's where it began. How did everything change? I started to learn about fascia about 20 years ago. I was training in a Pilates, with Polestar Pilates, and fascia was introduced to us. And we began to explore somatic movement to understand that this fascia is just one fabric, so that when we move, everything responds, right? And I began to become curious. So one of the movements that I found difficult in Pilates was the roll up, right? So the roll up is you breathe in, breathe out. That's how we were taught. So the core contracts and then you roll up, right? And I'd always find that really difficult because I just had such stiffness in my body. And when I realized that this is one of the first movements that our Polestar Pilates mentor guided us to, is if you send your heels away, your body may take a spontaneous breath in and then you roll up with ease. So your body doesn't roll up easily with an out breath, but it can send you the urge to roll up just by sending the heels away. The breath arrives and then you roll up. So that's where it all began. But then for me, over the years, it's completely changed. I no longer teach Pilates, I don't teach yoga, and neither do I teach anything in the fitness space, because I'm connecting to this embodied intelligence. I'm connecting to the way the body moves naturally, effortlessly, and these are the kind of movements that I share with you in a little course that I call Move with Ease. And my whole purpose is to get people to understand that there is a different way, there is an effortless way, there is a way of embracing your whole self without the story, without the judgment. And the information is already there within the body. In Soma Sensing, we just guide you to listen to that information. So in the next video, I'm going to share the soft body bounce. Experience that for yourself. And if you want more, you can go to the link to either join in tune, watch the next video, or you can watch the Somatic Secret to Vitality and really start listening to your body as a whole. It's not something that's mechanical, that's separate to who you are.